Welcome to What Are You Reading, a podcast with the Public Library of Mount Vernon in Knox County. I'm Christy.
And I'm Katie.
And today we're going to start with a comedy of errors in a way. So we're in Ohio and we had some inclement weather. So we were delayed opening a little bit. And you would think that that would make us more prepared for the day. However, you would be wrong. Mm-hmm. In fact, Katie and I both forgot the copies of our books. Mm-hmm. So today, for those of you that are watching us on YouTube, we printed out pictures of what our books look like so that y'all can still see what the cover might look like. So we were a little concerned, but hey, thank goodness for the copier. We were able to at least show you guys what our books look like. Mm-hmm. So we're in January. Welcome to 2026. This is the first episode back of the podcast for the new year. And Katie and I both wanted to pick something that was maybe nonfiction, that was maybe like a little lighthearted and funny. Because, again, Ohio, we are in that dreaded, like, it's 11 degrees outside, there's snow, there's ice, oh, there's rain because it was 48 degrees yesterday. It's constantly gray. So we wanted to do something that might, like, kind of lift our spirits a little bit, but also fill that, like, that kind of urge to learn something. Because I know a lot of us, we specifically aren't big fans of resolutions. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, well, we didn't really want to do anything resolution-y, but we wanted to do something still that was a little bit, like, stimulating, that was a little cerebral. So we decided to pick some nonfiction books.
Yeah, we don't do nonfiction that often, so might as well start off the new year with something a little different.
Yes, and these are definitely different for our channel. Honestly, for sure. Yeah, I feel like this might be the first time, of course, correct us if we're wrong, but this might be the first time that we've done stories like this from authors. So I picked Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty. I absolutely adore her, and I started following her on YouTube, actually, many, many moons ago. And Caitlin is a mortician and works in funeral service here in the United States and has a really interesting perspective. And as the tagline says from Entertainment Weekly on the cover of the book, the very definition of morbidly funny. So I know a lot of you are probably going back to, like Chrissy, you just said earlier that you wanted something that was uplifting. And here I am talking about death. But I will say that the way that Caitlin writes is incredibly funny and does bring some levity to something that is absolutely devastating. Any of us that have been touched by tragedy knows how serious this is. However, coming at it from a career standpoint and learning more about mortuary service in the United States was very interesting. So I learned so much from reading this and also listening to the audiobook. We do have this available on Libby as well as the physical copy, here at the library. So it's something that you can listen to, download to read on your phone or tablet, and then you can also pick up the physical book.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you read?
Okay, I read 50 Things That Aren't My Fault by Kathy Geiswhite. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I think I did it right. Who all of us may know, all of us of a certain age, may know that know Kathy from her comic strip called Kathy.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a collection of essays. The subtitle is Essays from the Grown-Up Years. So essays, hers aren't really like laugh out loud funny. It's very much like the comic strip, where there aren't too many that you just like crack up laughing, but they are still funny. It's just like more of a situational, kind of funny. So, and she's got little doodles at the beginning of each essay that are reminiscent of her comic strip.
That's really cute because she is so iconic. Like when I can see her face, if I hear the name the Kathy comic strip, I can see the doodle, and so that's really fun.
Yeah, and I got to learn a little bit more about her. She was born in Dayton, so shout out to Dayton.
Hey, Ohio.
And she never intended to do a comic. Her mother just sent in some of her doodles, I think, and was like, "Oh, I got you this because you need to share this with the world." Mm-hmm. So her mom kind of shoved her into the so she had no formal training. She just kind of morphed into having one of the most successful comic strips in America in all time.
It's such like a vignette, right, of time where the comic strip really was. I remember being little and looking forward to the paper and looking at the comic strip. And it was especially exciting on the days when the paper would come, I think on the weekend, when it would be in color. You know, like that was really exciting. I know, I sound like I walked to school uphill both ways barefoot in the snow. I know how I sound. However, there really was a time where, you know, it was really exciting to get the paper and read through these comic strips and Peanuts and Kathy and Dilbert, who, you know, we just lost the creator of Dilbert this week. So, you know, all of those things for us, millennials and anyone a little bit older, I think you definitely remember. And probably some of Gen Z too, when newspapers were really still very popular. Yeah. So that's really cool. Did she have a lot of good things, you know, interesting things that you learned from?
Yeah. One of the like theme, I guess, through the whole book is kind of like what it's like to be part of the sandwich generation, which we're kind of on the cusp, the other side cusp of it, where you might still be raising your children when you also have to start taking care of your parents. And that's kind of where Kathy was when she was writing this book. So she had a 19-year-old daughter who was going off to college, and then she has 90-year-old parents that live in Florida, and Kathy lives in California. And Kathy has, I think, 2 sisters, maybe 3, but 2 sisters for sure, who also live like scattered across the U.S. So it's how to get her daughter off to adulthood while taking care of her parents from long distance.
Yeah.
So, and that's where a lot of them are. One of the essays that I thought was really funny was, it's titled, I Do Not Lie, Build-A-Boob. And it was about taking her 19-year-old daughter to the mall and, you know, still seeing a Build-A-Bear and being like, oh, I remember those days. And it's like, I kind of really would like to go over there and build a bear. But her daughter is there to go to Victoria's Secret and pick up some under things. And then Kathy starts talking about how, in a way, which is very much like the comic, in a way that women are kind of taught that their bodies aren't right, because, you know, you've got the push-up bra and the heavily padded bras, and you have, you know, the plunge neckline and like all this stuff. So when it should just be, you know, support.
Right. It could be so much more simplistic.
Yes. Yes. And instead of being like, oh, well, she was like, oh, well, I have an A cup, but then I could actually wind up with a D cup if I get the right bra.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is why at the first essay is called 50 Things That Aren't My Fault. She doesn't have 50 things in it, but it's kind of along the America Ferrera monologue from Barbie, where it's kind of like, and at the beginning, she's waiting at a fast food joint, and she's trying to decide if she can have noodles or not, because, you know, every other year it's like, oh, noodles are good for you, noodles are bad for you, and she hasn't read like the health magazines for 6 months, so she's not sure if they're good for you or they're bad for you.
Yep.
And then the guy behind her in line gets really annoyed, and she looks at him, and then is looking at his face and is like, oh, he's not wearing mascara. He's not wearing eyeshadow. He didn't use a pore cleanser or a pore minimizer and a cleanser this morning. Yeah. And it's like, how much time have I wasted trying to be presentable? So, and that's kind of leads into the 50 things that aren't my fault.
Wow. Yeah.
So, because there's a lot of stuff that none of us have any control over.
Yeah.
So, and we can just deal with it or pretend it's not there, or we can lean into it and try and fix things that we can't fix.
Yes.
So, and there's the other essay that I really liked in here. I'm not quite finished with the book. But so far, she goes to Florida because her parents are thinking about downsizing, and they live independently, and they want her to come down and help organize and purge. But when she gets there, they're like, oh, well, we have this scheduled for you, and this scheduled, and this scheduled, and then we're going to go here. And she goes to the Florida version of the Container Store, maybe the actual Container Store, and buys all these organizing things, and it's like, oh, this is great. I'm going to spend the week here. I'm going to organize. And then her parents keep derailing her.
Sure.
And are like, why? Why are you buying organizing stuff? And why? I'm like, oh no, don't touch that.
Oh yeah.
So that's something that I can picture having to go through that with my parents in the future.
Yeah.
So where it's like, oh no, but they wait until the cab is on its way to pick her up to take her to the airport, when they're like, oh yeah, we got this shoebox full of stuff, and it's like, can you help me organize it? And it's like, really, Mom?
Yeah. She's like, I've got it in an hour. What do you want me to get done?
So she was like, okay, and then sat down and organized it. But yeah, so...
Yeah, very situational stuff that you can apply to your own life.
Yeah, and especially for women, like I said, of a certain age, although a lot of the stuff that we deal with as women goes all the way back to the Kathy comics and is going into the future. So there's still a lot of pressure put on women to behave and act a certain way.
Yeah.
She finally retired from doing the comic, and she said that nowadays you can't just retire. You have to be doing something exciting and amazing. And she's like, I just want, my sunbonnet, and I'm going to sit on the porch and do nothing. And yet she's like, I feel inadequate because, my friend took up skydiving, and this friend went on a world tour, and this friend started their own business. And she's like, can't we just be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's very timely, because I've noticed that too. A lot of cultural trends, especially for 2026, has been why are we so focused on this rise and grind here in the United States? Why do we have to constantly be moving? Maybe we should, kind of stop and smell the roses and enjoy the fruits of our labor that we've worked so hard for. That there shouldn't be shame in just kind of slowing down and taking time to look around you.
Yeah, and having the confidence to, when someone asks, oh, what are you doing these days? And you can just look at them and say, not a darn thing.
Absolutely. Hopefully that day one day comes.
Yes.
For all of us. We get to just sit on our porch with our sweet tea and enjoy, what we've built with our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it. She's got a good voice too that you can get through it fairly quickly, even though I haven't gotten through it yet. But that's mostly my husband's fault. So we're gonna blame him for that.
Blame him.
So
absolutely. Mine was too. It was such a fast read because I was picturing Caitlin, and for me, there's something about her voice and the way that she presents information, especially coming from like her YouTube channel. She also was on an episode of Midnight Gospel that streams on Netflix. And she just has a way of spinning a tale that is phenomenal. So I've learned so much from her over the years, of her different series about famous corpses. And that sounds crazy, but there's so much history and so many interesting things about the dead and how we handle the dead and how every other culture, dating back to the written word or storytelling, has handled death and their dead. And I did have a couple things that I kind of wanted to mention so you could kind of hear her voice in a way. So, if you're picking up this book, what to expect. And her first chapter is called Shaving Byron. And she opens the book with, "A girl always remembers the first corpse she shaves." So Caitlin begins this book with her very first job out of mortuary school. And she is tasked with shaving the face of a deceased person. His family has asked that he be clean shaven for the showing. And coming out of school, that's the last thing she honestly expected would be her first task. So, this girl that's just starting her career is standing there with her apron, her gloves, and a little pink razor. And is told, hey, no nicks because we can't fix them. So the pressure is on from day one. And notice I'm smiling about that. It's somehow you're able to come at this with that sense of levity, with that sense of a joyful curiosity with a little touch of the morbid, which is, I think, how a lot of people describe me in general. So for me, it's like the perfect read. Another really fun segment that she mentioned is, following her shaving of Byron, she said, "When I woke up that morning, I hadn't expected to shave any corpses. Don't get me wrong, I expected the corpses, just not the shaving. It was my first day as a cemetery operator, a crematory operator at Westwind Cremation and Burial, a family-owned mortuary, or a family-owned funeral home, depending on which side of the United States you live on. Mortuary, funeral home, potato, places for the dead." So, you have this really kind of lightheartedness coming at this career because it is a career and those people are very important, so often. And a lot of what Caitlin's, I think, I don't want to speak for her obviously, but a lot of her content is kind of taking the blindfold off of death for us because we're really good at putting it away because it's awful and uncomfortable and it can be really scary. And what Caitlin's trying to do is to kind of, she mentions this in her opening, is take that blindfold off and allow us in to see that this is a part of life. Unfortunately, it's death. And maybe one day we'll get around that. I don't know. But as of right now, there's this whole industry and it's really, really interesting to learn about. If you're interested, no pressure. This isn't high pressure sales, but there are some really wonderful books out there that might be a scotch on the dark side, but are really worth a read. And getting to know these people and what they do is very enlightening. So I know Caitlin has additional books, so I am very excited to read some of her other books. And I'm going back to her YouTube channel kind of like inspired. And I want to watch some more of her content. So it was a great read for me. And honestly, it was about, I want to say 424 pages. However, it's a really small book. Again, just like Kathy, the voice that she's writing with is such a super easy, quick read. I was able to read this in 2 sittings. So I am a fast reader, but really I was super invested in this. So it was comical, it was sad, it was eye-opening, it just the full package. So super recommend this. If you're interested, you got to check it out. So I think it was a great start.
Oh yeah, a great start to the year.
Yes, and we have lots more coming, guys. We have another full year of great content coming your way. Of course, next month is February, so we're probably gonna, spoiler alert, it's probably gonna be a little romancy, but who knows? We might pick some anti-Valentine's Day stuff. So we'll just have to see. But we'll let you guys know. As always, come in, stop by, say hi. Let us know what you're reading. We'd love to hear it. If you've read books that we have suggested, please let us know. We love talking about it. We love giving readers advisory. So please stop in and say hi. So we will catch you all next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.